modelrockets.us Ceeyah assembly. Removing the parts from the bag, you'll see that there is an instruction set, a body tube, and a bag of small parts. Opening up the bag of small parts, there is a set of fins, a decal set, a streamer, the streamer tape discs, a motor spacer tube, a shock cord set, a nose cone, a launch lug, and also a thrust ring. The shock cord assembly includes Kevlar shock cord, a white elastic shock cord, and the thrust ring. And you'll notice in the thrust ring there's a groove that's been laser cut into the thrust ring to attach the shock cord through. So first, let's take both ends of the shock cord and pinch them together and tie one overhand knot to make one shock cord out of both. And we'll pull it tight and check your knot like this. Take the end of the yellow shock cord and put it through your thrust ring and tie one knot tight over the groove. Tie a second knot and then pull the shock cord into the groove like this. Take your body tube and also your engine spacer tube, and you noticed on the engine spacer tube there's a groove all the way around the perimeter of the tube, 1/4 inch from the edge. This has been laser etched in, and this is used to mark how deeply to put the thrust ring in the tube by going to this mark. So take your shock cord assembly, and we're going to attach the end without the knot, this end, to here. Just hold it temporarily and pass the shock cord through the top end of the thrust ring and the motor spacer tube, and pull it through. Then take your tube and put in about 1.5 inches to 2 inches glue all around the inside, like so. Then take your thrust ring, insert it, and your motor spacer tube, and push in all the way until you reach the mark on the end of the motor spacer tube. Then pull out immediately. You can throw away the motor spacer tube. It's no longer needed. On the tube, you notice that the fin lines are marked, laser etched in. There's 3 of them. And also the launch lug position is marked on the tube as well. preparing and attaching the fins, we'll first take the fins and push them out of the balsa sheet. They're laser cut and they're easily pushed out. Take the 3 fins and stack them together, like so, and you can push them flat against a surface to line up the bottom edges. Put them on a piece of sandpaper, 120 to 180 grit, and just pull across to flatten those edges where they attach to the tube. If you want to finish your rocket later, you can round the edges here and here, or even round the back edges. Usually rounding the front edges is sufficient and leaving the back square. But as this rocket doesn't need to be finished to fly, and for this assembly, the sake of the assembly, we're just going to go ahead and glue the fins directly on the tube. Take your glue and take one fin and put a thin bead of glue along the edge. And attach on the line that's marked on the tube. If the glue is holding it sufficiently, you can leave it on there. Sometimes it helps just to remove it and let the glue tack up for a few minutes by setting the fins aside to tack up. We'll do this for all 3 fins. Just touching it, setting aside to tack. And you can set this aside to tack up for a few minutes. Now that the fins have had a chance to tack up, we'll reattach them. But do this before the glue is completely dry. You can see that all 3 are attached. They will still tend to move a little bit right now until the glue dries. We're going to attach our launch lug and then we're going to line up the fins. Make sure the fins don't fall off while you're doing this procedure. Take the glue and put a bead on your launch lug line. Take your launch lug and attach to the glue and the rectangle that's already marked on your tube. Line it up so that it's lined up with the center line of the tube, straight. The instruction set has an alignment guide. Bend your instructions flat, and then you can take your rocket with its fins and line it up onto the alignment guide so that they are perfectly in line with the marks on the page, just like this. Now you can set this aside to dry for a few minutes. Now that the rocket has a chance to dry, the fins have had a chance to dry for a few minutes, we can drop our shock cord down through the bottom of the tube. And pull it out the top side. We're going to set this aside for a few minutes and build our streamer. The streamer has a hole in the center, and there are 2 tape discs. We'll take the first tape disc, peel it off, we put over this hole in the center of the tape disc, flip it over, take your second tape disc and place it, align it with the tape disc that's on the other side so that there is a hole through the center of the streamer. Take the end of your white shock cord and pass it through the streamer. And pull it all the way until the end, to the knot. Now take your nose cone and we'll tie a double knot to the end of the nose cone. Pull it tight. Let's fold our streamer and put it inside the rocket. Fold the streamer once, twice, 3 times, and roll it up tightly. We'll place this inside the rocket and also put all the shock cord in. Place your nose cone in. And this is a completed assembly. Once this rocket is fully dry, we want to strengthen the fins and the launch lug by adding a fillet along the joints where it meets the tube. So we'll set this aside to thoroughly dry. Now that this Ceeyah rocket is thoroughly dry, take your glue and put a bead at the joint of each fin and body tube, a very small bead of glue. end between the launch lug and the body tube. And then take your finger and smooth out the glue. You can wipe the excess off on a paper towel. Do this for all the fins. These fillets add a great deal of strength to the mounting of the fins and the launch lug to the body tube. And as soon as the glue is dry, your Ceeyah rocket is ready to fly. If you want to finish it before flying, there are instructions in the printed instructions, or you can use your favorite finishing methods, such as sanding the front edge of the fins round, priming and painting, and then applying the decals. The rocket can be flown just as is as soon as the glue is dry.